So we're going to start doing this infill by preparing the nail. We're going to push back the cuticle, removing any non-living tissue away from that nail plate and easing that cuticle back. Now this nail's been on for around 3 weeks. I always recommend my clients go 2 to 3 weeks. 3 weeks is the norm for my clients. Obviously everybody's nails grow slightly different, but the average is 3 weeks. So I'll push that back. Now I'm going to check for any lifting. Now sometimes you'll get pockets of lifting. Now to be honest, there isn't any lifting on this one. That's because it's been done really nice. Okay, so if you have any pockets of lifting, you will have a paler patch of acrylic. So the colour between the natural nail and the acrylic will be totally different here, where you'll have some pocketing. Sometimes you have a bit of pocketing. What we're going to do now is use your 180 grit file and file onto the acrylic to soften that, and you can prep the nail at the same time, but don't over file this natural nail, else you will create a ditch here, and you don't want to do that. You'll create damage to the nail. I'm going to go right the way round and soften that. So make sure you're angling your file, so you're literally just skipping across this line and softening the join between the acrylic and the natural nail. This is going to make it easier to fill and softer. Now I'm just going to pull down the length just to remove any gel top coat that could be on there. And as long as you have enough support here, you can file the free edge. But because it's quite far down, and you can see the amount of pressure that alone puts on the natural nail, I will file the free edge once I've got support here. So I'm going to make sure this is all filled, then I can come to file the free edge shape. I'm going to dust off. Then I'm going to wipe over with some acetone just to remove any other dust particles, and it'll also slightly dehydrate. Then we're going to prep with the nail prep dehydration. Just let that disperse over the nail. And then we're going to use the acid-free primer. Drag off any excess and just literally paint it on and let it disperse. You can see how it disperses over the nail. Make sure that takes away the matte nail and it will make it more of a satin finish. That's going to help everything stick down. It's going to put the pH back into the nail, very similar to the acrylic. I've got natural beige colour pink here. I'm going to use Max Adhesion. If I was doing this in the salon for a fill, because I'm very quick, I would use the high speed acrylic. But just for this demonstration today, because we'll go a little bit slower so I can talk things through with you, I'm going to use Max Adhesion. If you want it a little bit slower than that, you can use a medium speed. So if you work a little bit slower, you can always go to a medium speed, which will be your slowest. So I'm going to squeeze out the bubbles out of the brush. I'm going to drag both sides of the brush because I only want a small bead like this. I'm not going to bleed out the back of the brush or anything. I'm just letting that sit there, clean my brush, letting the nail tip down So I'm just going to smooth that side down, this side down, and then bring this down onto the nail so you have a nice apex. And that's how easy you want it to be. So when we picked this bead up, I'll just show you picking this bead up again because we want a small bead. We marked both sides. The brush was upright. And I went into the powder 1, 2, picked up a small bead like that, went straight on with it. As I put it on, I just let the bead do its thing, tipped the nail down, so the product was drawing down the nail. I wasn't flat like this, and it wasn't falling into the nail folds or anything. And by letting it draw down the nail, can you see how neat this line is here? All I had to do was whip over the sides, and then this side, and then bring it down, and that was it, you were done. You'd be straight on to the next nail. So we're going to let that acrylic set, and then we'll file it. Okay, so as we tap this now, you've got that high pitched sound. So we're ready to file. Obviously, if you were doing a full set, by the time you come back to that first nail, you will be dry and set and ready to file. So I'm going to do the same filing routine as I always do on every nail. So we're going to go up the side walls, kicking right underneath this nail. We're not going like this, we're not anchoring up. It's nice and flat, in line with the nail. So side walls. Cuticle, round the cuticle area, all the way around here. Angling in, making it nice and flush. As you come to 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, change the positioning of the file, and then you can come down this side nice and easy. We're going to refile this. We're filing these into a ballerina shape. So the sides and the free edge, square, sides coming in, and a nice flat top to the tip there. I'm going to go over the entire surface of the nail now, just to refine the shape. Make sure you're not filing off your apex. Then we're going to buff this nail, starting around the cuticle, so you can see that it's all nice and flush. You don't want a lip here, you want it to just glide straight into that nail, all the way over the nail. Remove the dust. And to finish, I'm going to top coat this with Mega Gloss. Bounce to the cuticle. There, I'm just taking that excess off. And sweeping the sides so it's capped. And that's ready to go into the lamp.